Oh, it's such a good drawing.
What If reminds me of the YouTube videos that I stay up all night watching.
What If is an action-packed flip of the script.
What If is basically fanfiction.net put to screen.
Fanfiction, very nice. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fallingtower's Watch the First podcast, the podcast in which we watch the first episode of a series so that you don't have to. You know what we do. You don't know why we do it, but you know what we do. With us, as always, for the last month, during all of Superhero Month, special co-host, Dr. Muhammad Noor.
Hello. Always a pleasure to be on Watch the First.
That was a lot of stuff for me to say there. I almost forgot what I was talking about. We also have a 2-time Emmy nominee joining us, very special guest, Meteorologist Katie.
Hello, hello. How's it going?
My name is Ryan T. Husk. I am also a 2-time Emmy nominee.
Ooh.
And everybody listening in, if you were watching this, you'd be able to tell from my expression that I was full of shit there. Sorry. But the Emmys don't know who I am. Anyway, today we're doing a review, of course, of Marvel's What If. What If, like fanfilm.net. Good knowledge there, Katie.
That was a great description.
Good
I've
stuff.
spent a large portion of my life on that website. More than I'd be willing to admit.
More on that in a moment, everybody. So, if you'd like us to review a show, everybody, in the comments below, just tell us the show you'd like us to review. Just say WTF, in this case would be What If, or WTF Smurfs, or WTF Battlestar Dramatica, like Muhammad's shirt. He's wearing a Battlestar Galactica versus Galaga shirt, which is pretty badass.
That
It's
is
got the little
so
vipers
cool.
at the bottom too.
That is
Oh my gosh.
glorious. All right. So please give this video a like. If you're listening in, give it 5 stars. If you would, please review it. Leave your comments below. Tell us what you'd like us to review next. Subscribe, or tell us what you think of What If. And let's go ahead and just get into this. Get through all this nonsense and get to the meat. My favorite part of this show starts right now. Muhammad knows what it is.
Yes. Can we say?
Hell yeah.
Predictaments. The predictaments, where we predict what each other thought of this show.
Mm-hmm.
And it puts us in a predicament.
Now, this
Can we dive in?
I feel like we're going to get pretty accurate here because I know Muhammad pretty well and Katie pretty well, and they know each other pretty well. So I'm going to predict, Muhammad, I'm going to say that you like this fairly highly, like pretty high, like at least a 7, but probably more of an 8 or a 9. I think you're going to like this very much.
Yeah.
Katie McGee, I think you're also going to like this, but one step below Dr. Noor here, but still a good solid chunk of like in this. What do you think, Muhammad?
I actually think both of you will like this as well. I think Ryan's going to like it, but I think Ryan may or may not. I think you're going to waver on what I watched the second, because I know you don't necessarily love the shows that are completely in isolation, like things like Twilight Zone, where there's no connection from one episode to the next. Because you say it doesn't give me anything to necessarily look forward to the next show because it's going to be a completely different show. So you might be iffy on that, but I still think you would have liked this one. Katie, I think you just solidly would have liked it. I'm guessing both of y'all would be in the 8-ish range.
Okay, cool. See, I was going to go like you'd be in the 8-ish range as well, Muhammad, but I think Ryan would be maybe like 1 or 2 points lower, like more of the lukewarm trending up sort of vibe, maybe a 6 or a 7.
Oh. So we all think the other person liked it. Now, everybody at home, this is where you come in. Do you think I liked it? Do you think Muhammad liked it? Do you think Katie liked it? And how much? This is your chance to shine. Write that in the live chat if you're watching live. If you're not watching live, you're watching this later, put it in the comments below. Let us know your predictions. And while you're doing that, you're thinking, wait a minute, but I don't have time. I got to type super quick. Oh, you do have time. Dr. Noor here who, by the way, is the Dean of Arts and Sciences at Duke University. So he knows a little something about time. I don't know what that means. He's going to buy you a little bit of time by telling us all what this show is even about.
I will indeed. In 1943, Agent Peggy Carter steps into the Vita Ray machine rather than Steve Rogers, thereby getting the power we see Captain America having in Marvel Comics. Initially fighting the typical misogyny, Captain Carter proves herself by capturing the Tesseract from Hydra single-handedly. She joins forces with Steve Rogers, now in the Tesseract-fueled Hydra Stomper, and Bucky Barnes and others to fight Red Skull and the Hydra Nazis. In a climax scene, Red Skull is able to open a portal to bring in a giant evil squid tentacles. But Captain Carter is able to force them back into the portal by sacrificing herself into the future, again delaying the long-awaited dance with Steve Rogers.
There was a lot of dance talk in this episode.
There was a lot of dance talk.
So,
Very much.
everybody at home, we truly hope you've made your predictions because you're almost out of time before you start finding out if we really did like it. So go ahead and make those predictions. We're going to go into my second favorite part of the show, which is what we expected versus what we got. We compare and contrast what we expected before we watch this episode of What If, entitled, by the way, Captain Carter Were the First Avenger. You were ready to say
the title of the section of the show. Sorry.
We compare and contrast what we expected before we watched this first episode with what we actually got upon viewing it. Muhammad is ready to call it
Expect-getchen. You have your expect and then you getchen it.
Where did you get a name like that?
Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, my role model.
Heck yes.
All right. Shout out to Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, the other half of this team with this gold plaque. He's got one as well.
Look at that.
Oh, and the other half is Darth Shuey. That's an old baseball joke. Who is it? Yogi Berra? Some old baseball person was like, baseball is 50% hitting and 50% pitching. Oh, and 50% defense or something like, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something like that. Anyway, so Muhammad, before you watched this first episode of Marvel's What If, what did you expect, if anything?
So I had seen it before this watch, but I do remember because it wasn't that long ago that I watched it for the first time. It was just a couple of months ago, so I'll refer back to that one. I didn't know much. I actually hadn't really heard of it at all. The comment that I had heard was that people had said it would be good to watch this before you watch the most recent Doctor Strange movie. That was as much as I knew about it, even though I almost gave something away. So, but yeah, that was as much as I know. I will say the other thing which will be relevant later is I still, until now, have not seen the original Captain America movie, even though I know some of the main scenes.
What?
Sorry.
You kind of have now in a way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know bits of it. And again, I've seen like pieces that were either repeated or that have been discussed a lot, but I had not actually seen that movie straight through. So.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
I know. Everybody predict right now if Katie's seen it. I think we can guess.
Yeah.
Well, Katie, before you watched this first episode of What If, what did you expect?
I expected basically a show with the same level of writing as you get from fan fiction. Something where you take a show, you take something that's established and you're like, yeah, but what if this happened? Because I've done that before, like back in middle school. Oh my gosh, I used to write what if fan fictions about Star Trek all the time. No one will ever find them. But I was like, oh, that's cool. They're doing it with Marvel. And I've seen every Marvel movie ever made many, many times over. So I thought, okay, cool. And, seeing the title of the first episode, I thought this is going to be great. We're going to see Peggy, and I love Peggy, and this is going to be fun.
Did you watch Agent Carter?
I did. Oh my gosh, I love Jarvis with all my life.
Yeah, that was a great show. I saw that. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
What's Agent Carter?
It's basically a story. Show. Yeah, it's a story of Peggy Carter, but like after Steve Rogers is gone.
So it's a series, Agent Carter. It sounds familiar.
2 seasons.
So it's kind of like The Shield or something, where it's like just boring people, but not superheroes.
Agents of Shield is more modern day. Agent Carter's set like still in the 40s, 50s ish.
Oh, but that sounds even
both
worse.
At the same time, and at the Comic-Cons, they had this huge battle on. I think it was like was it Instagram videos or Vine or something, and they had this video back and forth battle. It's phenomenal.
Sounds phenomenal. So, I guess I'll tell you what I expected before I watched this. Spoiler, I'm not big on like shows like The Shield or whatever. I never watched it because I'm like, I watch superhero stuff to watch superhero stuff, not to watch the people that live in the superhero world, but that aren't superheroes.
The normies.
But that doesn't really apply to this. So I'd never seen this before, but I had heard of it a little bit. I feel like everybody's talking about it and saying it's really good. But I didn't give it too much thought. So I didn't really expect very much. I will say that when I was looking it up and when we were going to, do this one, I like to check what the running time is just for my own benefit. So I know how much time I need to allot from nap time while it's playing. And I was happy to see that it was animated. I was like, oh, there's always kind of something that makes it more palatable and easier when it's animated. So I was like, oh, that feels a little more chill. And it was only like 35 minutes or something. So I'm like, okay, cool. So it just feels like it's going to be less heavy, or it's going to be easier to watch when something's animated. For some reason, it just seems a little more chill. So I was looking forward to watching it, but that's really all I expected. Here's the big part, though, Muhammad. This is where we separate the Marvel superheroes from the people that are just in their universe and walk around with suitcases and briefcases and ties and stuff. What did you actually get?
Great question. So I actually did not even know it was animated. So when I first started watching, like, oh, it's animated. So that was a surprise going into the episode. I thought it was a really, really interesting, I mean, I guess that you call it an alternate history almost in some sense of what happened with Captain America. So obviously I know the Captain America legend because I mean, it's come up in the Avengers and things like that various times. But this was fascinating to see like, oh, here's a really nice story of what could have been if there had been one slight change of decision. And I really love that opening scene with the Watcher where he said something about this point right here. I'm assuming this is referencing a scene in Captain America. I don't remember it, where Agent Carter was told, do you want to go back in the booth? And she said, no, actually, I'll stay down here. And he said, that was the decision. That right there is, essentially the butterfly effect, where everything from there on changes. I love those sorts of butterfly effect things. So yeah, seeing that was really good. It was a good plot. I was pleased to hear Bradley Whitford's voice because I love him from West Wing and from Handmaid's Tale, and he was just as misogynistic in this as he was in Handmaid's Tale. So that was
who's that?
Good.
What character?
He was the guy who played Colonel Flynn.
Hmm.
Yeah, the really sexist Colonel guy. But the plot was good. It had a good pace to it. It had good action to it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I actually have very little negative to say about it.
I knew it.
Yeah.
What about you, Katie? What did you actually get? Tell Muhammad how wrong he is about this.
Well, Doppler's going to jump in and give her opinion first.
Yep, she showed
Great
her butt to it.
I have to say, this is the best analogy I have for it. You know that microfiber cloth that clings to your every move, that is everyone says it's either super soft or like scratches the living daylights out of you? That's what it was like for me to watch the show. I hate the animation style so much.
Huh. Wow. I did not see that coming.
It would probably blow your guys' mind. The show, it could have been about anything, but the style of animation is, I don't know if it's just my ADHD brain or what. It's like, no. So it was a little distracting. I actually had to watch the first and watch the first again so I can make sure that I wasn't distracted and actually watched the plot. But the plot was cool. It was nice to see that you had the elements of what if this happened? How would this change? What would happen to all the people that were involved with this? And seeing how it parallels the story, but at the same time, it's still branching off, almost like a different track.
Yeah. WTF AST. Watch the first a second time is what Katie likes to play.
There we go.
Well, I'll tell you what I actually got before we do a deep dive into Katie's brain on all that she just dumped on us. What I got was when I first started watching this, it hit me. I was like, oh, this is alternate history stuff. I have bags under my eyes because I watch this alternate history stuff on YouTube all day long, like channels like Real Life Lore or or what if alt hist? Like what they do is they talk about like, this is what would have kind of like this stuff, right? This is what would have happened had this happened, or what if Canada broke off into different countries, or what if World War I never happened, or what, anything like that. And it just is fascinating. And then they kind of didn't quite do what I wanted them to do with it. And I thought that they did not stick the landing for me, and they did not make it interesting. They tickled the interest bone without actually, giving it all to me. That sounded worse than how I meant it. So
PG-13 rating on this one, eh?
Yeah,
Not touching that one.
Basically, they almost gave me something that I wanted, and then they really did not execute it in the way that I suddenly thought that it was going to. When in the first 5 minutes, I got super excited. I was like, oh my God, this is the kind of stuff that I love, and they're doing it in a universe that I love. I'm going to just be like a pig in shit, messy. But anyway, so that's what I got. What I got was kind of a letdown, to be honest.
Oh,
I
wow.
know, Mohammed. It's 2-on-1 on this one.
Wow.
Katie, can you tell us a bit more about the animation style? Because I didn't even notice the animation style, but I will tell you that many times animation style has taken me out of a show as well, where I'm like, why are they making them look so weird, especially when it's super stylized? But this didn't feel like that stylized. It felt like they're kind of going with more realism or something like that. I didn't even notice it. What about it did you not like?
Well, I grew up in the early 2000s when CGI was just trying to get off of the ground.
Mhm.
Toy Story was a thing, and now all these different shows were trying to make them. And immediately when I saw the images, and Mohammed, your screenshot in the background is a perfect example. It reminded me of the Rescue Heroes movie, which none of you have ever seen. Watch the first of it. I don't know if you could do that with a movie, but it was very, I don't want to say cheap, but cheap. It's clunky. It's not quite detailed. It's kind of just a smooth over version. And it doesn't have the detail levels like Star Trek Prodigy or Star Trek Lower Decks or DuckTales, for example. It's
favorite.
very smooth and not polished at the same time. It's quite strange. I guess it's because I've seen so much animation that it's one of those styles that it just immediately I'm like, no.
Is it radically different from Avatar?
Oh, Avatar: The Last Airbender? Heck yes.
Okay.
Avatar, it had more of the hand-drawn view to it.
Mhm.
This one was definitely, you could tell there was no hand-drawn anything. It was all computerized.
Got it.
I don't know. It's one of those things where most people, yeah, like you said, never would pick up on it. But I guess for me, I'm just like, immediate, what?
Yeah, this was way worse than this.
Oh, it's such a good drawing. But like, and you can tell.
You're sure.
It's smooth, but it's a different, how do I put this without sounding insane?
Too late.
Animation with drawing is different than animation with computers. Because animation with computers, it's way easier to add detail. So it kind of just, I was like, this is kind of a lazier route, maybe. Well, not to say that it's bad, because many people still like that style. So
in your case, Katie, you liked the plot, but you were not crazy about the animation. Whereas Ryan, you were fine with the animation, but you didn't love the plot. Is that correct?
So together, if you take out the bad, put in the good, we get you.
There you go.
Or we get what Mike would have said about this, which is they're both bad. I don't know. We should always predict what Mike would have thought. I think.
Oh yeah, you might be in the chat
I think
right now.
Mike would have. I think he would have been okay, not thrilled about it, but given it the benefit of the doubt, I think he would want to like it more than he did. Kind of like me, I guess. So let me tell you what I thought didn't stick the landing for me, and this is a very subjective choice. This is not a professional critique in any way. Is that I would have wanted to see what if Agent Carter, right, Jimmy Carter or whatever. What if Peggy Sue Bundy, what if she became the first, the first Avenger, Captain America. And then I want to see how the Marvel Universe and the Avengers and all that would have changed. Like then this person would have been the next, the next Iron Man, kind of like what they did in a certain way, but then they add the Hulk, and then they say, but then the reason this character was brought on was because they were a friend of Steve Rogers. So this character wouldn't be brought on, but maybe her friend so-and-so would have brought this person on, which would have brought on this enemy, a different type of enemy. And this whole huge butterfly effect of how it affects everything. Suddenly you have a different Avengers group that have some of the same elements, but different ones. Maybe Quicksilver from the X-Men is now in the Avengers. And then maybe their enemies isn't like Ultron. It's, Magneto, or who knows, that kind of stuff. I wanted to see the big picture overview of how this one little thing would affect everything. And instead, what they gave me was how this one little thing, this one little change affected the first Captain America movie. That's what it was. Yeah. What if Peggy Carter was Captain America in the first Captain America movie? That's it.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, oh, well, that's
so you wanted it to
a lot smaller scale.
At the point where like Nick Fury gets her, you wanted to see like what happens after she shows up.
I want to see what if she was Captain America, not just what if she was Captain America in the first Captain America movie. You know what I'm saying?
Got it.
So I got super excited, and then I realized they're just playing that movie, but with a different character in that role. And I was like, oh, okay, well, it gave me some of the elements I wanted, which is then we got Hydra Stomper, right? Cool. That's part of that, and then we have that. It's like a new superhero that we didn't know because of this. And, a couple other things like that. That's the stuff that's super exciting. But just imagine if they did that with 20 things instead of 2. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying.
That kind of ties into one of the only big things that stuck out other than the animation was they shoved an entire movie into 30-ish minutes. That was a fast recap. So I was thinking, if you're new to this and you don't know the plot, you might have a little bit of a tough time.
So how much of this was in the original Captain? So again, I didn't see it. I remember Captain America in the end, like fell out of a plane and got frozen in ice. And that obviously didn't happen here. Was the stuff with the Tesseract in the original Captain America movie, or was that new here?
The Tesseract was a part of it.
And the squids and stuff?
The big divergence happened on the train. Okay. And because originally, Bucky was the one who died.
Yeah. And so now there's what do you call Winter Soldier anymore?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I thought when they were like, Steve, you're still alive. Like maybe they turned him into the Winter Soldier, but it kind of, it was a little different than that. And the whole octopus portal thing didn't happen.
Okay. Yeah, I figured probably not, because I couldn't see how that would connect to the weird plane thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then here's the question. The octopus portal thing, which I didn't recognize either, but I hadn't seen the movie in so long, I was like, maybe I just forgot it. If that didn't happen in the movie, what is their justification for it happening in this episode? Like, how did Agent Carter becoming Captain America change the timeline to include that? Mm-hmm. And I don't know, do we get any kind of answer to that?
The main thing was
the Tesseract.
Well, yeah, when they had the Tesseract and they put it in the Hydra Stomper, Hydra got the Tesseract back. So that was like a little deviation from the original movie where Hydra just always had the Tesseract. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure why they went that route in the end.
Interesting.
Yeah. So just to beat my point home to death, because that's what I like to do, because you did mention like they crammed basically a movie into 38 minutes or 35, whatever. It's tough. And that's why the things I watch and what I expected this might be when I first started watching it is more documentary style, where they're not just trying to drop a new element into a known movie and then see how the movie plays out differently. But it's just a documentary style where they say this would happen and this would happen. And then meanwhile, over here, this next thing would happen and then enter in this character. It's just like 30 minutes of information just blowing your mind, and Muhammad's about to tell me why I'm wrong.
No, I wasn't gonna say that. Actually, I was gonna ask if you guys have seen the College Humor video with Steve Rogers when he goes back in time and lives out with Peggy Carter.
Yes.
That sounds
Yes.
almost like
Oh
what
my
you're
gosh.
describing, Ryan.
So
Where
I think we should
all
go
these
to New
events,
York this
Yeah.
weekend.
like all these events
What's
are
the
happening.
date?
He's like shoving food in his mouth so he doesn't give anything away. She says something like that. I invest in
That's
this
so
new
funny.
company called Amazon or this other new company called like Plant Food or whatever. And he's like, I don't know, you pick. And then she's like, I guess I'll do plant food.
Oh no.
Yeah. He's just like,
Oh, that's funny. Or like
Yeah.
when Yahoo was going to buy Google for like $1 million and then they
my
didn't.
God.
And you're like, Yahoo, you should have done it. But it's better for us that they didn't, because if Yahoo bought Google, who knows if there would ever be an YouTube,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
butterflies
back in the day. Yeah.
What did you?
So-
I thought there were a lot of funny scenes. Did you guys like some of those? There are a lot, I mean, I wouldn't say scenes, but like funny quotes. There were a lot of times where I laughed and thought, X was funny. Did you guys find that too? I have a long list of them here.
I'd love to hear yours, because at one point I'm going to quote my notes. Okay, this is not me. This is my notes that I wrote down when I watched this. Enough with the dancing jokes, and I wrote dancing, DAHHHNCING. I'm like, they made like 7 dancing jokes. I'm like, all right, dude. It just hit me that I'm like, that's too much. I don't want to hear any more dancing jokes. Anyway, but what do you got for us, Mohammed? Tell us what was funny.
Sure. I mean, I didn't have any for the dancing one. So I remember the reference because I remember the scene at the end of the Captain America, because I think they replayed it in one of the Avengers movies. So I remember the thing about the dance. But so I liked when she put the Tesseract on Colonel Flynn's desk, and he's like, "Is this nuclear?" Because it's like this glowing thing. I thought that was great. I loved her excitement when she was fighting for the first time with her powers. I just thought that was like, she was like, "This is great!" Going at it. I yelled yes when she snapped at him and said, "Colonel, you're lucky to be even in the room." I thought that was great. The quote, "Who needs a plan? I have a shield." I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the later one where Red Skull got squished and she's like, "Okay, we need a plan." I thought that was great. But some of those, like there were many of those where I was like, "Oh, that's funny."
I like the callback. Like, we don't need a plan. Okay, we need a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other moment that was similar to that was, I think the only one that actually I thought was funny was when she goes and talks to the dude that was in Your Highness. If you ever saw the movie Your Highness, there's this creepy dude and he plays like the Nazi guy who says, "I won't tell you anything." And then cut to, "He told me everything." Like, that's funny. That's just good. Fun little quips that make us laugh sometimes when they're delivered properly. I also was surprised that the kick-ass montage where she's beating everybody up and there's like this musical montage, it was surprisingly violent. I was like, wow, she's basically crushing somebody's head in an airplane and letting them wow. Like, and the other, I had a lot of nitpicks on this one, and I shouldn't have nitpicks on cartoons, but they're cartoons based on movies. Like, why is everybody aiming for her shield?
Like,
aim for the head.
Yeah, dude. Every single bullet they think it's a target. That's what it is. They're like, I got it, you guys. Oh yeah, well, I can do it too. Check this out.
20 points.
Maybe it's really magnetic and it like draws the bullets in.
I like that.
That would be a good idea.
Vibranium.
Like that. Yeah, that works. Okay, I can put that in my head canon, and that works for me. Yeah.
What about you, Katie? Do you have some funny scenes?
I really loved the scene where she's like doing her first soul fight and she's like, "This is awesome." Like that's all of us if we had gotten a superpower out of the blue. Like, this is so cool. So I mean, I felt that was funny and relatable.
I think this episode should have been called "What If Every Time You Get Slammed to the Wall by a Tentacle, there happens to be a sword 1 foot next to you hanging on the wall." That's because that changed the course of history more than anything. If she's like, "Oh my God, what do I do? Oh, what a deal. There happens to be a sword right here on the wall, not even like attached, but just like held like in a sheath."
Yeah, a fully functioning sharp sword on a wall.
And then and it was sitting in it too, where it's going to be dulling the blade, not hanging, because hanging would make it tougher. And then I was like, did I miss something? So while she was fighting, I was looking on the walls to see if this is like a weapons room, if there's a bunch of swords and spears and axes hanging. Nope, there was literally just a sword. I think that was my biggest eye roll, where I was like, okay. And then she got that 3-foot sword and sliced completely off a tentacle that was 6 feet thick.
She's
and
just
I'm like,
good.
That is not a possibility. It's something that's
it's like the
6
Ginsu
feet
steak knives.
thick. Something that's 6 feet thick. The best the sword could do would be cut to slice half of it.
She's just that strong.
But it needs to be a 6-foot sword to cut a 6-foot thick tentacle. Anyway, I was just like, okay, It's a cartoon. I got to let it go. But
my one's nitpick was when she made that quote, at the rate it's spreading, it could devour Europe. Like, what? How did you? What calculation did you do to like it's getting bigger? It could devour Europe.
It's barely devouring the room.
Exactly. Like, yeah. I mean, if you let it go enough, it could do the sun. I mean,
it sounds like Muhammad likes to be the only genius. That was also a joke on the show where they're like, "Oh, this guy's supposed to be the only genius" or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that was Howard Stark. So that was Tony Stark's dad. Is that what it was?
Yes.
I barely remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, he gets killed by a Winter Soldier.
I found that was a really interesting part of it because, I mean, Tony created the Iron Man suit out of a necessity because he was trapped in a cave. There was no other way out. How did his dad come up with the idea for an Iron Man
very
suit?
quickly? Yeah, very, very quickly too, and built the whole thing.
There's a scrawny
and it was 3 times
kid.
as big as Iron Man. I was just like, wow, it was a pretty awesome suit, though. I want to see it fight Juggernaut. So there were a lot of. It sounds like we all have nitpicks. I mean, I've definitely have the most because I'm like, I got sad when it wasn't what I was expecting. But Muhammad, can you tell us why you think this show was so great? Tell us why we're wrong about it.
So, I mean, I like the story. I mean, I thought it was very interesting. Now, again, I haven't seen Captain America movie, so I didn't know which parts were being repeated versus which parts were new. So maybe part of what I'm liking is the original Captain America story, and that might be why I like this one more than you guys did, because you're like, yeah, I've seen this. I remember the train scene. Like, I don't know anything about a train, so. But I thought it was. I mean, I found myself very engaged the whole time, even rewatching it now, because as I mentioned before, I'd seen it before. I found myself very engaged watching it very carefully, and I found myself captivated. I really liked her as a character. I loved the show Agent Carter, so I was already predisposed to Peggy Carter. So, but I mean, seeing her now actually with like superpowers and really excited about it and being badass and fighting nasty sexism and stuff like that, this is great. And at the same time, fighting Nazis, and doing really well with all those things. So I just found it very engaging overall. You know, was it kind of predictable in the sense like, of course she's going to prevail over Red Skull? The nice thing about it is with this alternate history, that wasn't necessarily obvious, right? Because if it had been a regular superhero show, then yes, that would definitely be the case. But for this one, I was like, I don't know if she's going to. I mean, maybe in this case she gets killed off, and so does Steve, and the whole world goes south.
Everyone dies.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. So I like that aspect to it. That even though it might seem predictable, I didn't necessarily know where it was going to go. And then at the very end, there, having the connection to the modern day, I was like, oh, so I guess there's some bits of determinism in the sense of like, in some way, Captain America will join Hawkeye and Nick Fury in the future, irrespective of who Captain America is. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, those were elements I enjoyed.
Good points.
As well as the humor.
Good points. So what did you think, Katie? Besides the animation, I mean, you liked the show, the story, the plot. What'd you like about it?
Well, I just like that they're actually exploring the concept of what if, because you watch shows and you're like, wait, what if Chakotay never was emotionally involved with Seven? Like, how could that change things? So,
for example,
he was and she was, and it's canon.
No. Just like the last episode of Enterprise is not canon. No, you just like it's nice to see that they're actually listening to what the fans have been saying of this would be cool. And also you're pulling from the comics. There have been alternate versions of comics. Captain Carter is a comic. So it's nice to have Marvel expanding into that realm instead of just what is the most popular thing that we've ever made. That's what I've really liked about it, and just seeing the ability for them to bring in voice actors who may or may not have actually played these characters in the live action. That's also what I like. Like Sebastian Stan came back for Bucky, and
Yeah, Bradley
it was
Whitford's
really
character was apparently Tommy Lee Jones. I looked it up because I was curious if he was in
cool.
it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I really I like that, and I'm hoping that they'll keep this trend going.
Yeah. Oh, Hawkeye. That's his name. In my notes, I was like Nick Fury and that Arrow guy, but now I remember his name's Hawkeye. I couldn't remember his name at that very moment. Oh, Muhammad, you were saying that in previous episodes of Watch the First, you had mentioned this show. You know what I noticed was The Watcher.
Yes, that was what I mentioned exactly from the previous one.
When we did Silver Surfer, everybody at home, Silver Surfer is WTF number 123. It was released on August 3rd, so go check that out. The guests are Darth, of course, and Jurassic Jennifer Durst, an actress. Now, The Watcher in this thing, first of all, I thought it was brilliant. I was like, oh my God, The Watcher is our narrator. The Watcher is our guide. I love that. That's so cool because he was also at the beginning and end of the Silver Surfer saga, presumably when we watched that. But he said, my rule is I only watch and I never interfere. And I'm like, wait, I've only seen you once before and you broke your rule in that one episode that I've ever seen you ever before. So I'm on to you, Watcher. You're not just the Watcher. You're also a doer sometimes.
I love that. I love that actor too. I love that actor for the one in this. He plays Bernard in Westworld. I don't remember the actor's name.
Oh.
But yeah, I love him in that show too. So I remember hearing that voice like, oh, that's Bernard.
I used to like Bernard Del Pierre, I think his name was, the recliner of rage on Conan O'Brien. Oh my God, that dude would kill me. He cracked me up so hard. Little known fact, he's one of the two signatures, autographs I've ever gotten. I was at some convention. I was like, oh shoot, you're Bernard Pierre, whatever from Conan, blah, 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 blah. He's like, oh yeah. And we talked for a little while and he goes, hey, check this out. And he signs this thing, gives me his autographed headshot or whatever. And I'm not one of those guys that likes headshot autograph thing. I'm like, I don't. And so then what do? I was like, oh, okay, thank you. I guess I'll just carry this around all day long now. I have this thing with me but anyway, if you're watching, Bernard, thank you. I still have it and I appreciate it. It was just weird. It's like, what do people do with these things? You have to hold it now for 9 hours while you're walking through Comic-Con or whatever it was.
Yeah. Anyway. That's the rookie move. You have a backpack and then you get several of those sleeves so you can protect them while in the backpack.
I like to have my hands
noob.
free.
Noob. Come on.
I don't like to carry anything. I just want whatever can fit in my pantaloon pockets. And that's that. I don't want to forget stuff or hold stuff. Keep it easy. Anyway, look, Katie, we're going to have to talk about you for a minute here, okay? I'm sorry. I'd love to talk more about Comic-Con stuff and what I should and shouldn't do there. But now we are diverting our attention to you. And first things first, you're a meteorologist. You're a sci-fi dweeb. You got your own shows, your own podcasts. You do a whole bunch of stuff. But you also create videos that go viral. It's like you have this weird talent, this knack for saying, I've got an idea and do it. Because here's the thing. We all have ideas. And many of us do those ideas. But we all make the rest of the world. You are the person who does it and it succeeds and becomes viral. And every time we have these ideas and we go, I'm going to do this thing and maybe it'll go viral. And it never does. And you go, maybe it'll go viral like the other 7 I did. You're like 9 for 9 in this thing. So the most recent one was really cool. You basically did the weather for the Orville universe. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so I've been a fan of the Orville since day one. Love Seth MacFarlane, love Star Trek, and this is the perfect marriage of them both. And it was coming up on the finale for season 3, and I've been toying around. I have a whole list here, which no one will see, of different fandom
Oh,
forecasts I have
show
planned.
us.
There's like 20 of them. It's incredible. But I figured now is the time to do it if I'm going to, because the Orville is hyper relevant right now. And it's the finale. So let's do something to celebrate it. And so I decided, yeah, let's do a forecast. I'm a meteorologist, it's my thing. And so for weeks, I dove back through all the episodes and I found what the canonical data is for the temperature on Krill, which is 5 degrees Celsius above freezing. And so I knew it was metric
Like
and everything,
45.
and just all the little nitty gritty details. And finally got it all put together and posted it. And there was a really good response. And I think the whole thing tying
Including from
back to
Seth
the
MacFarlane.
yeah, Seth MacFarlane retweeted it. Jay Lee retweeted it.
Wow.
Tom Constantino said it was canon. So
Oh,
that
wow,
was
really?
so
That's
cool.
awesome.
So proud of that. But no, it was just so fun to see people have fun with it. And I think that's why some of my videos go viral is I talk about the weird things that no one's ever done before. No one does forecast for fictional worlds. It's the scientists. We're supposed to be professional. And then I bust down the door like the Kool-Aid man, like, hi guys. And I just have fun with it. I think that helps the viewer have fun too.
Maybe who you're going, oh yeah, and going through the weather.
Oh,
weather
yeah.
map.
That's me in the meteorology field right now.
I love that you included even two-dimensional space in that video. That was hilarious. It
Oh,
wasn't just
yeah.
the worlds that we see like a lot, but it was even fun once it showed up like once or twice. That was great.
I was like, what would you want to have a forecast for? What are some of the craziest, coolest visuals too? Because half of storytelling is having something to show with it.
Mhm.
And so I found in 2D space, that was neon and pretty. I like that.
You're very talented too, because I mean, you don't just do the weather thing. Like your Animaniacs one with all the countries. That there was no weather to that, but it was still really, really
Unbelievable.
well done. Really, and you actually updated it for the current set of countries, if I remember right.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I went down a YouTube show hole in college and I was like, I need something for the talent show. How about I memorize all the nations of the world? And then I found that the person who sang the song, Rob Paulson, did an updated version a couple of years ago. And it included all the like Montenegro, Bosnia, Herzegovina, the Soviet Union is gone, and all this stuff. And I thought, okay, well, I can add that on. And now I want to flex because I spent all this time learning it, and I'm not just going to walk into a grocery store singing it. So let's make a video.
Let's make a video of you walking into a grocery store singing it.
I would probably be arrested. Like,
Especially you bust through the wall going, oh yeah, first.
That would definitely.
How long does it take you to prepare for these videos usually? Are they all different?
Great question.
Yeah, it depends because with a fandom forecast, one of the ones that I'm working on right now is a Harry Potter one. And so if it's 7, 8 movies, 7 books, you got to go through and you got to, if you really want to be a nitpick, go through and find all the information that you have on it. So that involves watching the movies or rereading the books. So for that, it's been like a month or 2 in my free time just doing that. But then there's other days like my icicle poop TikTok. That just, I swear that is going to follow me for the rest of my days.
That was a big one. That one
was huge.
was everywhere.
It's over 24 million views now, which blew my mind. Nuts.
Wow.
But that happened because someone sent me a TikTok of this woman eating an icicle like it was a carrot. And I looked outside, it was 30 below zero wind chill, and I thought, yeah, there's some icicles out there. Went out, was like, just don't do that. Because you're eating poop. And next thing you know, after a maybe 2-minute diversion from my day, I'm now established on TikTok.
It's amazing.
Wow.
So it's all just luck and finding humor in life. Because the world's doom and gloom as it is. People want something fun. So I say I'm a professional escapism expert.
I would say it's not all luck. I would say there's a lot of skill there. Like, 'cause your things are really great.
Clever and creative.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like, I guess, the magic school bus. If you were a kid, you're learning something, but you're having fun. So you don't realize you're learning something. So in a way, I'm trying to help the world, but I also have some fun.
Exactly. Which brings us back to what if, because that's exactly how I feel about those kinds of videos is you're learning something, but it's super interesting, which makes it fun. So before we close that out on that side, everybody go check out Katie's goodies online. You can find all of her videos. What's your handle so they can go check you out?
At weather_Katie.
Also,
Check it
YouTube
out.
has so many random fandoms.
Yes, so many random fandoms because I cannot decide on one.
Okay. So that's the crux of it all for me. Learning stuff that's interesting, which makes it fun. And I thought that's what this was going to be. And it gave me a little bit of it, but it didn't really. So now it's time for us to duke it out. Yeah, Muhammad's practicing his karate chop for this. It is now time for the bottom line, everybody. It's the bottom line. Katie likes to call it the terrible twos, and I'm leaning towards her. I think it's going to be 2-1 of us against him, Muhammad, who's the only person that's ever called it the bottom line ever.
Poor Michael Keaton Rosenberg. We've forgotten.
All right. It's the final 2 questions of the show, everybody. And we kid. Sometimes we call it the bottom line. Sometimes we call it the terrible twos. But pretty much everybody prefers the bottom line. But I'm still hanging on to the terrible twos.
Cute.
Very.
Terrific twos.
That reminds me of one time. These French people, sorry, real quick. French people can be a little snooty. And they had a cat, this furry cat that looks super like elegant and beautiful. And so these French people called her Milady. And she like using an English name. Anyway, so one time my mom says to the lady, or to the dude, she says, "Oh yeah, Milady is Milady is pretty," or something like that, or she's cute. And the dude responds, "Très," which means very. Okay. Whoa, bro. Relax. Like, don't think she's just cute. She's very cute. Anyway, that's just, I don't know why I thought of that. So question number 1 is, on a scale of 1 to 10, Dr. Muhammad Noor, what would you give this first episode of What If?
I would give this a 9. I very much enjoyed it. I had very few nitpicks. I was very happy with it overall. So, I mean,
Nice.
All right. Straight up 9. Hardly any nitpicks. He's just like, you guys are going to be wrong after me. So you go right ahead. Katie,
no, teach their own.
Scale of 1 to 10. What do you think?
I would give it a 6. The story's there, but for me, the animation just didn't meet the mark. So, yeah, I'll go a little bit better than average.
Is 5 average?
I'd say 5's an average if it's from 1 to 10.
Okay. It's not like tests in college where like the average is usually like a 78 or whatever.
Exactly. There's a curve to this one, so
Well, you guys, I'm sorry, but when I watched this, I was like, you know what? This is a 4.5 for me.
Wow.
Really?
It was a very good concept. It was a very good nugget of an idea, like A+++. If it was what I was hoping, it would just go through the roof. And then what they did with the concept, like, narrowing it down, it brings it down to a much lower grade, maybe like a 7. But then even the execution of that brought it a little lower. So for me, it's a 4.5.
You're half of my score.
Interesting. Yeah.
Maybe if I didn't initially think, oh wait, is this going to be what I think it is? It's going to be amazing. Then I could have just enjoyed it for what it was. But I mean, I didn't hate it. I mean, it's basically average, 4.5. But that's what we give it on a scale of 1 to 10. Question number 2 is, for the purposes of this podcast, we all had to watch the first episode of Marvel's What If on Disney Plus. But now that the podcast is over and you're free to move about the internet, Dr. Muhammad Noor, could you, of your own volition, watch the second episode?
It's such a tough decision. I don't really know. No, absolutely. I've already seen all of it. I thought it was great. Actually, now I was holding back making a comment earlier which I'll mention just really quickly right now. I won't hold this up. There are some of these other episodes that do not necessarily have a positive ending. And
Oh,
in
that's
terms
cool.
of and in terms of Doctor Strange, there's one particular episode that is potentially a little bit useful to see before the movie. This one had no connection to that movie whatsoever. So,
Okay.
Interesting. What about you, Katie? Would you watch it of your own volition?
Probably not.
mm,
And I mean, I might listen to it, but the animation is just, I don't know what is wrong with my brain. It's immediately like fight or flight mode. So perhaps I will indulge myself in this through an audio drama setting.
have you seen Love, Death, and Robots?
I have not.
Okay, because the animation style is similar to this. I was curious what you thought of the
Really?
similarity there.
I'll have to is that Netflix?
It's on Netflix. Yeah, not all of them are animated. It's a mix. Some are animated, some are not.
Ooh, I'll check that out.
Everybody, what is Love, Death, and Robots? Well, I'll tell you, it's WTF number 118. So if you want to check out our review of it before you decide if you want to waste 15 minutes of your life watching that first episode, watch an
Only
hour of
15
us talking about it,
Yeah, sure.
or whatever it was. It was something really short. Our special guest that day was Miss Bridget Fitzgerald. So check that out. It's WTF 118, released on June 29th. Now, as for me, would I watch the second? Really close. I'd be more curious than I would be willing. So I'm going to have to say no, but
Ooh.
I'd be curious, to just kind of like know. Maybe I'll just look at the titles and be like, oh, that's interesting. And if one of them really tickles my armpit hair, I'd be like, all right, I'll watch episode 5 because it sounds really crazy. But otherwise, overall, I got to give this a no, surprisingly. But that's it, everybody. Muhammad is the optimist. Katie's weird. And I'm the pessimist. Katie's like, I'll watch it if Benedict Cumberbatch is narrating it and it's an audio
In
book.
a heartbeat.
Saying. Well, I think that's about it for us, everybody. Please make sure you like this video and you subscribe and share it with your friends. Give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. Please be sure you subscribe to us and let us know in the comments below what you would like us to review. Doesn't have to be good. It can be bad. It doesn't have to be your favorite. People often try to tell us to watch their favorite show. What's wrong with giving us a show that you absolutely hate just to watch us be tortured for an hour? That's okay too. Just to snicker and laugh and be like, haha, you had to watch this crappy show and now you have to talk about it for an hour. That's okay too.
I'm gonna have to hop in the comments of a future one and just be like, WTF, Thomas the Tank Engine? Just to see your guys' reactions.
WTF, Thomas the Tank.
What is it? Thomas the Tank. Do you not know who Thomas the Tank Engine is?
I've heard of it.
6, they're 8.
Yeah. What was it? They're red, they're green, they're brown and blue. They're a really useful crew. Yes. One of us has children and one of us is a child. So.
And you guys, this is oh God, I can't believe I'm saying this. Don't recommend Thomas the Tank Engine WTF in the comments below. However, this is currently Fallingtower's superhero month. So all of these shows are superhero related or superhero shows. Next month, September, all of your suggestions for September are actually Saturday morning cartoons. So I don't know if Thomas the Tank Engine was a Saturday morning cartoon, but it sounds like it. So that's a good reminder. Everybody in the live chat and in the comments below, give us your Saturday morning cartoon WTFs, and that is the month of September because it's like back to school, So it's back to school.
You already done Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Did we do? No, we didn't.
Really?
Oh, and also tell us we've done that one. That one is that one gets a rated R rating though. That was we
very
made a mistake
bulgy
there.
Costumes.
Yeah, we did some. It was mostly Michael.
Not here
Anyway,
to defend himself.
thanks for joining us, everybody. And remember, before we do that, we go, this podcast was what if everything was perfectly normal and nothing changed?
This podcast is what if Muhammad doesn't know what he's talking about relative to everybody else?
Impossible.
This podcast is my favorite part of the week.
Oh, you guys, what if that were true? Well, everybody at home, thank you so much for joining us. And remember what Michael Kenyon Rosenberg always likes to say. Uh-oh, did Muhammad
Be an organ
freeze?
donor.
Yeah. Don't forget to register to be an organ donor. And also, he's already ahead of us on the freeze frame. Also, don't forget to watch the first of things. Now, freeze frame like Muhammad. That's not what...
Sit around for a while and force that shitty smile.